You are listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.
Welcome to the Art of Personal Mastery, the expert interview series that brings you world-leading authorities on how to become the best version of you and create the results you want to experience in your life and business. My name's Grossart. I'm a transformational life coach and business consultant, and I've created this series because I know that you want to evolve yourself, you want to break bad habits, create powerful new ones, and experience a high level of satisfaction and happiness in some area of your life. I'm delighted to introduce to you on this call a very special guest today who's going to share some of the most transformative mind training techniques out there, Dr. Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist. And Dr. Steve is going to be sharing with us over 30 years of experience of clinical hypnosis and his acclaimed, accredited work. He is well recognized as a world-leading authority. And we're going to really go deep in this call and find out what's going on in our mind, why we get blocked, why we get stuck, and how we go about actually creating results that stick. So welcome to the call, Dr. Steve.
Well, thank you, Dawn. Great to be here.
Thank you. It's a really great pleasure to be speaking with you. And I know that this call is going to be one that's going to introduce a great deal of new information to many people who are listening tonight, because clinical hypnosis, I know, is one of those areas that many people think, you have to be referred for, or, it's the realm of, sort of serious mental care in some cases. But actually, it's not necessarily just that, is it? It's something that everybody can actually benefit and everyone can use. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction to those who don't know why they should be exploring hypnosis for themselves?
Well, as you mentioned, hypnosis is useful in a number of areas, both clinical and non-clinical. So if you think about it, anywhere in which the mind is involved, hypnosis can be involved. So if you're having a block, like writer's block or a creativity block, or a fear, like fear of flying, or something that's stopping you in your life, like fear of public speaking, hypnosis can come in and help with that. Of course, it also, as you mentioned, helps with the clinical things such as weight loss and stopping smoking. But we find that anywhere in which the mind, in particular the subconscious mind, can get involved, hypnosis can give a person a very strong advantage.
Yeah. So what exactly is hypnosis? Can you just talk to that? Give us a good kind of description of what actually is the process, because I also know from speaking to a number of people that there is some fear around being hypnotized and being out of control. So can you allay some fears around that?
Sure, and there absolutely is a lot of fear. A lot of it's because of Hollywood. You have movies like Curse of the Jade Scorpion, for example, a Woody Allen movie where Woody Allen is called up and they say the word Madagascar, and suddenly he's been programmed, he has to go rob his neighbor or rob a bank. And they see that and they think, well, it's kind of funny, but maybe that's what hypnosis is. Or maybe they think it's just not even real at all because it's just something that Hollywood made up to make movies. But really, hypnosis is real, and it's not something that causes you to violate your morals. It's also not something that's unsafe. People think, I might go into a coma or I might do something against my will. Those things are simply not true. Hypnosis is just a relaxed state of mind called alpha that we go into every day. When we're daydreaming, when we just wake up, when we're taking a shower, when we're driving, we go into this natural state. So the only difference between those times during our day that we would go into this natural state and hypnosis, where somebody would put us into the state, are two things. Number one, the hypnotist is causing us to go there by using relaxing words. And number two, positive suggestions are being put in our mind while we're in that state.
Okay, so just to clarify, it's just simply having someone assist you to achieve a brainwave state that enables you to access a part of your mind that you can then kind of program in a way that you want to program it?
That's what I meant to say. Yes, very well said.
Thank you. So I really want to bring so much benefit from having you on this call tonight, because I know that personally I do use hypnosis audios. I've used some of your own to great advantage, and I just really feel enthusiastic about having everyone explore this for themselves, because I believe it's like the hidden key to the change that many people are seeking now. You know, we're becoming aware of the fact that we can master ourselves, that we can change our mind, but actually getting to a point of making it stick can be challenging for some people. Now, I personally believe that hypnosis is something that many people would benefit from using. So can you tell us what kind of areas of life, you know, you can use hypnosis in? You know, what's the best way to go about trying it if you haven't done it before? You know, what would be a good place to start with it?
Well, hypnosis can be used in any situation you're working on. If you need confidence, motivation, creativity, if you want to overcome something or start something, hypnosis can help you break through those mental barriers that you've created for yourself in most cases. And the way to get started with it, there are a number of ways. The easiest way is to just get a hypnosis recording. I have a lot of them. There are a lot of them online. Or you can go to a hypnotherapist in person if you want to spend a little bit more time and money. You can go see a hypnotherapist in person. There are also phone hypnosis sessions for those who would rather not have a generic recording but don't want to go face-to-face with a hypnotherapist. You can do it on the phone. Because keep in mind, hypnosis is just words anyway, so as long as you can hear the words, you can be hypnotized. So there are a lot of different ways to start, depending on the particular tastes of the individual.
Yeah, great. So if you wanted to try this for yourself, okay, so imagine you've never done it before, and you're thinking, okay, I've got a habit that I know I really want to break, say whether it's eating the wrong things, I want to get my weight down, or I want to speak on stage and be more confident. There's a thought process that's running already that's perhaps been running around the mind for a long time. And there's a process of change that's required to happen to actually, you know, become more confident or to start eating differently. So at that point of kind of deciding that you want to change, how long would it typically take someone to use a hypnosis tool to support them to actually experience a shift or a change?
Well, we find on average 3 weeks is a good amount of time. Now, keep in mind that if we're talking about something like weight loss and they want to lose a lot of weight, 100 pounds, I don't know what that would be in kilograms, but if they want to lose a substantial amount of weight, let's say 30% of their body weight they want to lose, that could take some time. So we should not expect that to happen within 2 weeks. But what we should expect to happen is that they have different habits. Within the first 3 weeks, we find that the new habits are coming in. And you'll see changes at week 1, week 2, and week 3, but it's usually a subtle ramping up of changes. And so in something like weight loss, we see they've usually reached their peak around 3 weeks where they're able to now have those new habits that are going to allow them to continue losing weight. Now, if we're looking at something like stopping smoking, we should expect that since it's what we call a binary outcome, they either stopped or they didn't stop, we should expect them to have stopped, if they're going to, within 3 weeks. And confidence tends to fall along the kind of the weight loss spectrum similarly, in that your confidence is something that's a little difficult to measure. It's not binary. It's not as if you're confident or not confident. There are different graduated levels of confidence. So we should expect it to be ramping up over a 3-week period. But 3 weeks is usually what we're looking for. That's the amount of time that someone would want to listen to a hypnosis recording, for example, to start to really feel that they are different now.
So if you're using a recording to support you then over, say, 3 weeks, should you listen to it once a day, twice a day, when you're going to sleep? You know, if you were giving some guidance and instructions on how to do it, what would you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend once a day at nighttime. My recordings, for example, are designed to be listened to at nighttime, so you can go ahead and fall asleep. Your ears still stay open.
I noticed that.
Yeah. I don't want it to interfere with the day. I mean, just my voice is very relaxing in the hypnosis recordings. You can let it put you to sleep, and you can get your sleep, and you get the positive effects. It doesn't matter if you fall asleep because your ears still stay open. I ran into the other day. They said, "Are you Steve G. Jones?" And I said, "Yes." And they had a question for me. One question, and that is, what if I miss a few days in that 21-day period? And that's a question that comes up a lot because people get really nervous about that. They think, well, if I'm going to change, I've got to listen to this recording every night for 21 nights. What if I miss a night or two? And it doesn't matter. As long as you're listening to it for a span of about 3 weeks, if you miss a few nights here and there, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. And then after the 3 weeks?
Well, then you're on maintenance. So
periodically?
Yes, as needed. So let's say, for example, let's take fear of public speaking, overcoming fear of public speaking. So you have a speech coming up that you have to give publicly in 3 weeks. That's perfect. You listen to your fear of public speaking recording every night for 3 weeks. You're all set. You're ready to go. You've already imagined it going well, and then it does go well, and you feel great about it. But then you think, well, I don't need to worry about that anymore because I've already listened to it and given the speech. But then a few months later, it comes up again. You've got to give another public speech. Well, I don't believe at that point that it's necessary to go through 3 weeks again. I think a couple nights before giving the speech will be fine. So, and you can apply that to anything, such as weight loss. If people start to slump back or if they're not quite at their goal yet, then just a couple nights back to back every now and then would be good for maintenance.
So top it up when you feel you need it after you've put the groundwork in.
Yes.
Okay. So here's a scenario for you then. So you mentioned doing a public speech and you've got, say, 3 weeks to kind of practice and prepare and write what you're going to talk about and kind of use a hypnosis perhaps aid to help you do that. But at the same time, you're thinking, well, actually, gosh, I could really do with dropping a few pounds, and I really should stop smoking, and gosh, I'm a bit worried about my money, and, there's a few things that are going on simultaneously. What's your guidance and view on working on multiple things at the same time?
Well, what I suggest, and this happens a lot, I mean, we'll see in the shopping cart, people will buy 12 different recordings, and they're on a variety of topics. So the best thing to do is to take them and put them into groups. So, for example, maybe weight loss is also related to confidence and motivation, because maybe the reason that a person is overweight is because they don't feel confident enough to be their ideal weight, and they're not motivated to exercise or eat appropriately. So those three things form a group of recordings. So in that case, you take 21 nights and you have 3 recordings. So night 1, you're listening to recording 1, night 2, recording 2, night 3, recording 3, and night 4, you're back to recording 1. So you're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way through the 3-week period.
Okay. So you can actually work on more than one thing at the same time, as long as they are kind of connected and related to each other in some way.
Yes, and things you would not want to combine, for example, would be stopping smoking and losing weight. And anyone can argue and say, yes, those are related, and here's why. But what I say is that these are big things. These are things that really need individual attention. I recommend in that case starting with smoking, because smoking is something that when you quit, it's obvious. As I said, it's binary. You either stop or you don't. So when you do stop smoking, you get a tremendous amount of confidence. You feel amazing. And what happens after people stop smoking? Usually, since it's an oral fixation, they tend to start overeating. Well, we don't want that. So then weight loss would be a natural segue after that. So you've proven to yourself the power of your own subconscious mind and the power of hypnosis. You've built up that confidence, and now you're ready to move into something like weight loss.
You are listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.
Wow, yeah, that makes total sense. And you just mentioned something there that I'd like to go back and revisit in more depth, which is the power of the subconscious mind. Now, I don't know, we may have listeners who know a little bit about this. We may have listeners who really are new to this. Could you give us a little bit of an insight and a description about the difference between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and how they work together or against each other, and why we need to really take care about what goes into our subconscious mind?
Sure. If we think about it like an iceberg, that's the easiest metaphor. So an iceberg, you see a little bit of it above the surface of the water, and most of it is below the surface of the water. So probably something like 80% of the iceberg is below the surface of the water. And similarly, the conscious mind would be represented by the part above the water that we can see. It's obvious, but it's the smaller part. And the subconscious mind would be represented by the part below the water. Now, the interesting thing about an iceberg is that what's really directing where it goes is the bottom part, because that's what's affected by the currents in the ocean. When something pushes on it, the majority of it is below water, and that's the part that's getting moved. Same thing with the subconscious mind. What really affects us is the subconscious mind, the direction that we go, and how the subconscious mind has been influenced. That moves the conscious mind around the tip of the iceberg, so it looks like the tip of the iceberg is moving all by itself. I mean, it looks like when we look at ourselves, I bought this car because I wanted to. I made that decision. I live in this area because I want to, because I made that decision. What's really driving all of this is my subconscious mind. I'm not really making any decisions. I'm using my subconscious mind based on the beliefs that I have from my childhood, based on the beliefs I have about myself, based on data that I've assembled over the years. That's how I'm making decisions. That's how everyone's making decisions. So if you think your iceberg's being powered by your conscious mind, by those things that you think every day, it's really not. You are influenced by the thoughts that you hold deeply in your subconscious mind. And so that's why hypnosis is so important and valuable, because it gets to the subconscious mind through bypassing the conscious mind, or the critical factor as we call it, and it programs the bottom part of that iceberg to move you in the direction that you want to go.
Yes, and that's such a great explanation and a metaphor. Thank you for explaining it like that.
Sure.
I found a great quote before we came on the call, actually, which was the Norman Vincent Peale quote, which is, you change your thoughts, you change your world, or you change your life, which is so powerful and so true. Many of the people that will be listening to this call will be business owners, and we've talked a little bit about some of the personal lifestyle things that we can choose to make changes around, like weight and smoking and eating habits and things like that. What about some of the areas which are perhaps more externally influenced around business outcomes, where we've got to achieve certain results in business and hit sales targets and bring projects into being and hit deadlines? Can hypnosis be useful to actually support creation of results in that situation?
Oh, absolutely. And I have a real life example of this. When I, a long time ago, when I had a day job, one of my day jobs as a younger person was to call people up and sell them tickets to a play. And in the sales, it was a phone sales room, so we were all in the sales room, and there was a standard which was kind of low, which was maybe like one sale an evening. We just work in the evening and call people's houses and sell them tickets to this play.
Yeah.
And what I did is I realized it's a numbers game. I realized that the more people I call, the more sales I'm going to get. Also, the more people I call, the more rejections I'm going to get. So I was looking around at the people in the sales room, and they would call and get rejected and just feel bad about themselves. Or, the people who smoked would then go take a cigarette break because they just got rejected. What I would do is the 4 hours that I worked in the evening, I would just stay on the phone nonstop, except when I had to use the restroom. I would just call, because I knew that I had to get a certain amount of calls in to make a certain amount of sales. So one of the things that I recommend, a takeaway from that, is don't look around at what other people are doing if they're not successful. Find yourself a role model. Find someone who is successful and figure out what it is about them that makes them successful. That's something you can do that's very practical. When you show up at an office selling real estate or tickets to a play or anything else, find the leader. If there's no leader, then you need to become the leader. And usually it's done by volume. More contacts equal more sales. So you have to realize that in any of these scenarios, it's a mental game. It's all in your head. That's why Tiger Woods' father took him to a hypnotist when he was about 12 years old, because he knew golf is a mental game. You have to be focused on the things that work. So first of all, in whatever you're working in, it's your responsibility to figure out what it is you need to do that's going to make you successful. Secondly, you need to figure out who's doing it, who you can model. If the model person is not available, then you need to focus on what you need to do. And hypnosis can help because it can program those actions into your subconscious mind so you are doing them despite what anyone else may be doing around you.
Yeah, and that does make perfect sense. So you're putting the great content already in your head and surrounding yourself by the people who will lift you higher, who will inspire you, who will support you, give you great guidance as well. So it's inner world and outer connection as well.
Absolutely. And if those people aren't there, then you have to just rely on yourself, because sometimes unfortunately, and oddly enough, sometimes you'll go into an environment where there simply are no winners. Everyone's doing a low level of output because that's the standard around there. You have to go in and be the superstar. You have to ignore all that. Sometimes you have to ignore all that and just do your own thing because you know it's going to work.
Yeah, and the great thing in that way is that hypnosis can really bolster your inner self-esteem and confidence so that you can become the leader and not allow yourself to kind of think to be the norm of everybody else.
Right, exactly. So, if you want normal results, then in the United States, the grading system is a normal grade. An average grade is a C. Well, a C is not very good. You want an A. So if there's no one making an A, then you don't need to pay attention to any of those people. You need to figure out in your head what's going to give you an A.
Yeah. So be independent, completely independent.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you a couple more questions while we've got some time left. One is about self-sabotage. Why do we do that? How does that come about?
Well, if we think about it like a thermostat, in a home, the temperature is set to be in a certain range. If it gets out of that range, the thermostat kicks in. If it's too hot, the thermostat kicks in to cool the house down. If it's too cold, the thermostat kicks in to warm the house up. So it keeps it at that nice level. So we all have thermostats. We all have a level below which, let's take finances, for example, because that's the easiest to talk about because money is very easily measured. So if we fall below a certain amount of money in the bank, we get nervous. And we all have a different number in our mind. If we fall below that number, we get nervous. We start really working hard, and we start to put money in that bank. Now, for some people, that's right around zero. They don't want to go negative, but they don't need to have a surplus. They just want to keep it from going negative, so they keep it close to zero. For some people, maybe it's $10,000. For some people, $100,000 or more. But we all have that thermostat. Now, the interesting thing is we have a thermostat that regulates the other side as well. When we get above a certain amount of money that we feel comfortable with, then we can start sabotaging ourselves. We can start losing money because we no longer feel comfortable. We feel that we may be ostracized, or maybe our parents told us that rich people are bad, or they're annoying, or they're terrible people. And we don't want to be that person. We may have all kinds of subconscious reasons for that. Same thing with weight loss. That's a number that's easily quantifiable. So let's say we're attempting to lose weight. We lose an amount of weight, and we feel okay with that. We start to lose a little more, and maybe we feel uncomfortable because maybe we got some attention that we didn't want to from the opposite sex in the past that led to negative things happening, and we don't want that. That's a program from the past that no longer benefits us now as adults, but it's possibly still running in there. So we sabotage. And we sabotage on either end of the spectrum to stay in that happy range for us. The challenge with that is that happy range is arbitrary. It's set by the experiences we had when we were younger, the things that we've heard, but it has nothing to do with our goals right now. Our goals right now may be to look physically fit and healthy and have a lot of money. That's great. but that may not fit the thermostat that our subconscious mind has, which is that, we have to be a little bit overweight and we can't be too wealthy, because those things can cause problems or make us into a bad person. So we have to get rid of that programming, and that's done, again, at the subconscious level.
So do you have to rid yourself of an old belief before you can install a new one?
I believe so. I believe you need to get rid of the old belief, but I believe it can happen simultaneously also. I believe that you can do it at the same time. When you're installing a new belief, you're giving a new program to your subconscious mind, and so the other one is overridden. And I always say that in my recordings: you're letting go of the past, you're embracing the future, you're letting go of your old ways of thinking and embracing this. So yes, you have to let go of that to embrace this, but that can be done at the same time.
And so if someone's listening to this and they are really on a path to up-level themselves and create outstanding results in their business and really make a big shift from where they are right now, and let's say your physical surroundings, the place you live, the kind of environment that you spend the majority of your time in, is not necessarily reflective of the aspiration that you have. But in your mind, you're creating this image and you're visualizing yourself in a different set of circumstances. How do you overcome that challenge of physical environment and what you see every day versus what you're trying to create, and you're using hypnosis to help you?
Well, that's back to the example of me going into the phone sales room, and all I was seeing around me was people not winning. I was seeing people maintaining the status quo, which was one sale a night, which was not producing much money for them, and not getting the news out about this play either. So it wasn't serving anyone. So sometimes you have to ignore what's around you. And one of the best ways to do that is with vision boards. You have a vision board with pictures of an ideal life you'd like to have, or a big picture that may look like a window. It may look like you're looking out a window to the view that you would rather have when you look out the window versus the view that you do have. So anything that can keep this goal in your mind and keep you moving toward it, preferably in a visual way, can be great. Another way to do it is to, as you mentioned earlier, surround yourself with very successful people. And again, if you can find a winner in your in whatever you're working on, whatever your area is that you're working on or working in, then you can find that winner and contact them. Or if you're not able to contact them, maybe they have YouTube videos, or maybe they've written a blog, things that you can read or listen to that will inspire you along your way.
Great. So it's keeping constantly connected to that thing that you're aspiring to and the goal that you're looking to create. So thank you for that explanation. That's a really great one. I've got one last question, if I may, which is referencing the vision board aspect, or the picture or the image that you want to move towards in your life. Can you explain how simply having that in front of you or in your home or in your room or your office actually brings about the physical change?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'll be glad to. And my friend John Asseroff is a big proponent of this. And John is a very practical man, by the way. So John Asseroff, who was in the movie The Secret, uses vision boards. He's a big proponent of them. But at the same time, he's a very practical man. I mean, he used to be a real estate agent. So he's not someone who just believes in, magical hocus pocus happening. There is a logical reason behind it. And the logical reason is that you see it every day. Your subconscious mind gets programmed that is the reality you're moving toward. The great thing about the subconscious mind is also the dangerous thing, which is it doesn't know the difference between real and not real, or attainable and not attainable. So if you tell yourself that you're a loser every day, you start to believe that. If you tell yourself you're a winner every day, you start to believe that. If you show yourself pictures of a nice car, nice home, nice living surroundings, nice relationship every day, your subconscious mind starts to believe that. and then looks for ways in your everyday practical life to make that more and more and more part of your reality by doing things like showing up to meetings when you should, taking advantage of opportunities, learning as much as you can, making proper contacts, taking risk when it's appropriate, things like that.
Brilliant. Well, that is, and I'm staring at my vision board as I ask that question.
Oh, good.
So thank you.
Sure.
That's an amazing sharing of your wisdom around hypnosis. That's brought us to a point in our interview where I'd like to really invite our listeners to go deeper with you and to visit your website. And so, Dr. Steve, I'm going to ask you to tell us a bit about that. Tell us where anyone listening can go to find out more. And just before you do that, I will say that we're sharing one of your audios as a complimentary gift to all the listeners to this interview series. So it's one of your stress relief platinum recordings.
Oh,
so
good.
Every listener can get that. Can you tell us a little bit about it, and then what else that you might be able to support with, and where we can go to find it?
Sure. Well, the stress relief recording is a platinum level recording, as you mentioned, which may not mean anything to most listeners, but what that does mean is I spent about $120,000 of my own money to build a recording studio from the ground up, to hire college-educated sound engineers to use the best equipment available in the world to record these recordings. We've also got a lot of fascinating techniques in there and engineering techniques that really help with the message being delivered to your subconscious mind, such as binaural tones, NLP, analog marking, NLP future pacing. These are just things that are added in to make these recordings very powerful. These are world-class recordings. So the stress relief recording is designed to help you be a more calm person in everyday life, which is very beneficial, and it's shown to have tremendous health effects, tremendous positive health effects. And then on top of that, if you go to my website, which is just my name, stevegjones.com, then you'll get a free recording on tapping into your inner wealth potential. I call it your inner millionaire, the ability that you have to take your passion and turn it into profit. And again, that's available at stevegjones.com.
Wonderful. And yeah, your website is actually noted in the email that everyone's received to get into this call, so they do have that too. So all that remains for me to do right now is to thank you very, very much indeed for joining us today and for giving us a great insight and introduction to hypnosis and the power of it for those who may not have explored it for themselves, and for those who have maybe a little bit, to really understand why they should stay with it and keep using it and explore more and more scope around how it can support them becoming the very best version of themselves. So thank you very much indeed, Dr. Steve, for your time today. And thank you to our listeners for joining. So thank you very much.
Oh, Dawn, my pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
You're listening to an interview with clinical hypnotherapist Dr. Steve G. Jones. For a free hypnosis download, please visit stevegjones.com.